What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to GBall Vision. Thank you for stopping in. Today I wanted to have a discussion on the Buck 110, the old reliable, right? I've been thinking about this for quite a while, couple of weeks now, about doing a video incorporating the Buck 110 and trying to decipher, is it still a valid knife to pick up right now and be a solid EDC knife? And is it still holding its iconic presence even to this day? Because for decades, many years, the Buck 110 was held and put on a pedestal as, you know, the EDC knife before there was such a thing. That was the knife that was very commonly found on, most of our grandfathers, our fathers, great-grandfathers. Many have carried a Buck 110 of some sort. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here. And before you head out, do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up button. I always appreciate that, everyone. It really helps push the videos out there so more people have a chance to check them out. And feel free to let me know if you own a Buck 110 of any sort or ever have. So I do have a couple of different Buck 110 here, Buck 110s here with me of all different styles. So we have their very affordable model. Forgive me, I don't remember the classification for each one, but this is going to be their very affordable model. It does have some of those throw-on studs. And then we have what would be considered kind of an original attempt at the Buck 110 with some more throw-on studs. Now, this is the common look that you're going to see. The brass with the wood, the satin clip point blade, and typically coming in 440. Now, they do have pro models now, like this middle one here. This one is mine. This one comes in S30V and is going to have the Boss heat treat on it, of course. This one has micarta, a pocket clip. Now, that's, a couple of upgrades the knife has had over the years. Is this knife was carried mainly in a slip, and it was without a doubt a two-hand open knife, and could be closed in a variety of ways, none that I'll demonstrate here today, but mainly always a two-handed knife in both directions. Well, and it had to be carried either in the bottom of your pocket or some sort of slip, right? So over the years, they decided to kind of update the Buck 110. They made it a little slimmer, a little lighter, and they made it a little bit more in a modern light, right? Now you can open the knife one-handed. Now there are aftermarket studs that you can get for the original ones, but just based on a Buck design, they did decide to throw some studs on here and make it a one-handed opening knife. And you can also close it with one hand if you push the lock in and, of course, use something to close the blade. But other than that, it's going to be really hard to close this knife without making a bunch of movements one-handed. You're going to have to get it to, get it to unlock like so, and then climb up and pull it down. It's not going to just fall shut, and that's the nature of the lock. And that's going to be something else we're going to cover, is the back lock has really been eradicated over the years. There are still knives currently being produced that are mid-lock, back-lock style of knives, plenty of them, but for the most part, it's been kind of passed by. But there are companies who are putting out some back-lock models that are starting to have a lot of modern accoutrements. You can fling the knife open one-handed, right, off a stud or a fuller, and the back lock or the mid lock is able to be pushed in and the blade fall, half to 3/4 closed, and then you can close it up one-handed. but ultimately these knives here are going to be very hard to manipulate that way, and that's one of the downfalls of the knife that a lot of newer people enjoy, is the ability to just close the knife, whether it's with a liner, a button, tabs, however it is, and have that blade just fall closed. It is a convenience thing as well. If your one hand is occupied and you only have, now we've gotten by for decades with this type of knife, so it can be done. The end result here is not going to be anything we didn't already know at the beginning of this, but basically, to talk through it, I still think, and that's why I picked one up originally, was not only to get a solid knife, and that kind of answers the question there, at least with my actions a couple of years ago. Someone coming from, you know, Gerbers and SOG knives and knives like that you would get at Gander Mountain, the higher end SOG and Gerber knives of, you know, a decade ago or so. And that's where I came from, you know, and I told myself I want to get a good USA made knife that's going to last me forever. That'll be the only knife, you know, I'll need and I'll buy. And I was extremely wrong at that point. But I bought this knife with the sole intention of, this is really the only knife I'll need. It's USA made. It's got this S30V steel and these micarta handles with a clip. And this could potentially be the only knife you would ever need right here. But need and want are two totally different things, right? So this is definitely all I would ever need. But, you know, after that, it comes down to the things that we want. And I still think, based on a need, this would be all you would ever need. Now, you can get 3 different versions. This one in particular is going to run you at least $100 to a little bit more than that probably now. The affordable one is probably going to be in like the $30-ish range, I'm going to guess, with the plastic handles. Probably still going to be rolling with the 440C, I believe. I believe it's still going to be the 440 on those, as well as these. And this one is probably going to run you, because of the brass and the wood and the construction of the knife, is probably going to be a significant amount more, probably like 60 to 70, somewhere in that ballpark. And then, like I said, for the Pro Plus style model, that is going to run $100. So taking all that into account, does it still equal out to be a good buy? And I think that in its premium form here, I think it's a solid deal. You're getting a USA made knife, you're getting a solid steel and S30V. Now, they might even have more upgraded models in S45 or Magna Cut. I'm not 100% sure, and or what the cost would be on those particular ones. Just talking about what I have here. But based on where it's made by Buck in the US, using CPM S30V steel, fantastic steel with a good heat treat on it. We have some very nice micarta handles. Love this micarta. It's some really, really good stuff. Really comfortable, soft, still has that grip to it though. And the Buck 110, if you're not familiar, maybe you're new, or you know, you just don't know, the Buck 110 is a good size knife. It's considerably a large size knife, no matter, you know, especially with the brass and wood. This feels like it could be a fixed blade. So I still think at any of the given prices, you know, personally, this is where I would go. I would just jump right up and get the S30V or the Pro Plus model, whatever that consists of now, because you're going to get really good performance out of your blade. You're going to get good comfort and ergonomics out of the micarta. and the way the handle is shaped. It's just ultra comfortable, and it is going to be very, very lightweight in comparison to something like this, and it's going to be more in line with the FRN. The FRN gives them the ability to sell these very, very cheaply. You know, the steel, and the difference in the steels and the difference in the handles is easily going to be around, you know, 70 bucks, and that's what it is pretty much, if not a little bit more. But you're going to get all the benefits of a lighter weight knife with this one, and all the performance of a good steel. So I still think it's a solid EDC knife. Do I still think it's an icon? I do still think it's an icon as well. You know, if you're asking about the budget one here or this one, you know, if you want the, you know, the ability to say I have a buck 110 and you don't really plan on using it, you just want to have it because you're collecting, then these are going to be fine. If you want it just for an EDC knife, kind of a casual cutter, you don't use them a ton, but you want to have something, and you know the name Buck, I still think you're going to get a solid knife out of either one of these two as well. So I still think they're valid EDC knives. As far as the icon goes, yes, Buck 110 is an icon, and I think it always will be. Does it hold its status still today? I think it's really lost its status because of all the things that have come out. The Buck 110 is sadly an afterthought for most people, and if it's not an afterthought, it's not even thought of, because it's just not something that's commonplace anymore. You might just hear the name. There's probably people out there who just know the name Buck Knives. They might know the name Buck 110, but they don't really know what it stands for. And I think it has a lot to do with everything we have now. Everything was kind of based off of this knife, and, you know, transformed into all the stuff we have now. So we have this knife to thank in some way, shape, or form, I think, for all the things that we got today when it comes to knives. At least a big role. But yeah, this is the knife that got me into knives and really sent me down a spiral, wanting to try other things and get a hold of other things. And this knife has really been, I've carried it on some special occasions and stuff like that, but it's mainly been just a safe queen, if you will. I'll probably pass it to my son someday, you know, kind of give him his first knife in a way, and that's probably where this one will end up ultimately. But I still think, if this is the route you like, traditional type of knives, you know, a step up from a slip joint going to a backlock, there's no, it's not the wrong answer. Some people might say it's not the right answer, but I don't think it's the wrong answer, especially in this form. Like I said, you're getting all those benefits, plus you're getting that backlock, which is going to be just, it's a very, very dependable lock. There are some, you know, naysayers on the backlock, but a properly done backlock is going to be extremely rigid and tough, and very hard to break that lock, disengage that lock unnaturally or, you know, accidentally. If everything's done properly, those backlocks are extremely solid. It's just they don't have that ease of use, ease of manipulation, and the I guess accessibility that some other certain knives have. Some people will say, you know, at least it keeps your fingers out of the pathway of the blade, because typically you're going to need at least two hands to close it, or you're going to have to be able to disengage it and, you know, close it off of something else. but you will be able to keep your fingers out of the pathway of the blade. So that is a, that's a big plus as well in some people's eyes. I think it's a big plus. It's not something I need to have, though, in order to get a knife. But one thing I'm also noticing is you can see a little bit different spin on the blade shape as well. It's not quite as clipped as the original one is. It's not quite as tall. This more falls in line with kind of a modified clip point, drop point almost. That's really what this reminds me of, where this is definitely more of a clip point. And I think this is going to, yeah, fall right in line with this guy here. That's one thing I just noticed, that I was getting ready to close off and I saw that the blades are a little different. I was not, after handling these knives as many times as I have here over the last couple of weeks, I just now am seeing that. I guess I didn't have this one out when I had these two out and vice versa, but yeah, I still think it's a solid value. Do I think there's other knives out there that are better in the given price points? Yeah, I do. I think there is. But also, depending on why you're here, each one of these prices, with the exception of this guy here, if we're sticking to $100 strict with this knife, its current build, materials, that is a solid price for USA made S30V and micarta. If this is 30 or 40, yes, there are definitely better knives out there in its given price point. And if, say, this one comes in at 60, 70 bucks, there's definitely knives that are better, based on materials and the build of the knife, so to speak, how the knife operates. There are going to be better knives. I think this one probably has the best value when it comes to price versus materials. And I still think they're great knives, but I think there's a lot of better choices out there as well. It's all going to be based on the end user, though. Of course, like it always is with everything, it's going to fully depend on what you're looking to do, what you're looking for. If you are in the middle of a collection or you're just starting a collection, then, you can listen to all the people who say you got to have this knife and this knife and this knife and this knife in order to have a collection, right? You always hear it, Buck 110s, Rat 1 and 2, and the list is damn near endless at this point. Some people will say, you can't have a collection unless you have a Strider, a Demco, a Hinderer. You can have a collection without those knives. You want to aspire to get those knives, then fine, but there's nothing saying you have to have this knife or that knife in order to have a real collection. That's not true. Now, when it does come to the Buck 110, if that's the way you feel, that's the way I kind of felt that, but I also wanted just a solid USA made knife and some good materials back when I bought this knife. But I also knew the history of the knife and everything intertwined with it, and it just made sense for me at the time to pick one of these up. And just so happened, it turned me into an insanely nutty knife nut job. So, take that for what you will, but I don't think it's a bad idea to pick one up if you're starting a collection, you want a solid knife, or you have a collection going and you want to add a Buck 110, get one of these two. Unless you're down and out broke and you really want a Buck 110, then, this one is going to do the job. It's going to do the job just fine. It's still got the back lock. It's still going to cut the way a Buck is going to cut. Going to be comfortable as well. Very lightweight. Nothing wrong with the FRN affordable model. But either go with the classic or go with the Plus model if you can, if you're looking at a buck 110. You guys will have to let me know, where do you land on the discussion of the buck 110s? Do you still find them iconic? Do you still see them as a relevant EDC knife in today's world and for today's consumer? I love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Always appreciate that, everyone. If you're new here, we release videos just like this one every single day. Hit that subscribe button, ring the little bell. I would love to have you here. Otherwise, guys, I'll throw up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.